It's time for another scooter review, and look, this time it is not black and orange. And there's one more thing different about this scooter than the last few that I've reviewed, and that would be the price. I've reviewed several scooters lately that are over $1,000, some of them that retail over $2,000, but I did promise that I would have some more affordable options that I was going to be showing. This is one of them. This is the Isinwheel S10 PRO. The retail on these things is $6.99. They do have some holiday promotions going on right now, so you can get it for a lot less than that. So what happens when you spend less money on a scooter? What do you get? What don't you get? Just so happens that they have a handy little sales tag on the bars of these things. That's gonna help me remember these specs, although I think I remember all of this already. Okay, I admit, one of these I didn't remember. What you're not getting, we'll start there, is a front hub motor, not a dual motor scooter. We're just running a single rear hub motor. Now that motor is rated at 800 watts. As always, I've done a dyno run. I can verify exactly what the power output is on this. I'll get to that in a little bit. The battery, a little confusing if you ask me the way they advertise this. They call it a 54 volt battery. That's really just the that's the peak voltage, I should say, for a nominal 48 volt battery. So this is a 48 volt system. This is a 12.5 amp hour battery. So you're getting a little bit less power, you're getting a little bit less range. All of that is, of course, expected. But 800 watts is still a decent amount of power. On a bike, that's enough to take you up any steep hill. We'll find out if this can do the same. You still have front suspension. You still have rear suspension. There is a disc brake, but only on the rear. I find that to be a little unusual. The front brake looks like it's using a drum brake. So that's an interesting setup that I don't think I've seen before. Nothing particularly wrong with drum brakes. If people are thinking that's bad, there's some pretty high-end stuff that uses drum brakes that actually works really well. So I'm gonna reserve judgment on the braking until I actually ride it. I'm gonna try and feel out the front and rear brake difference and see how they compare and tell you what I think about that. Does it work as well as the disc brake or not? I genuinely don't know the answer to that. And then finally on here, weight, 63 pounds. I wouldn't say that's light, but I also wouldn't say it's heavy for a scooter. I've definitely had scooters that are a lot heavier. Now I can toss this tag. Actually, I'm gonna save that. I changed my mind. One thing that's kind of cool is that the scooter came with this little case, this little bag that straps up onto the handlebars, and it's a pretty good size. So I went ahead and put the charger in there. There's plenty of room for the charger and more. I've got a little toolkit in here. There's an extra tube. So that's kind of a nice little touch. I don't think any of the scooters I've reviewed lately have had any sort of onboard storage space. And this isn't technically onboard built in, like in the deck or anything, which would be the best place to put it, but that's usually filled with battery. But it's cool that they have a little bag for accessories there, if you will. So the rear disc brake, just to be clear, is a mechanical disc brake. So is the front. I gotta verify which one is which. Okay, right is definitely the front, and left is the rear. To be honest, that front feels pretty darn good. That drum doesn't feel bad right there. So let's put the kickstand up and go take this thing for a little bit of a spin. Oh yeah, turn signals. Audible beep. No signal on the front. Well, either these signals are really dim or they're not coming on. I mean, it is bright and sunny, but I can't even see them coming on. That taillight I can see is on. I did notice there's a few different modes on this. It confused me at first. So if you hit the throttle, when you first pull this thing out, it'll only go up to like 9 miles an hour. That annoying beep, right, you heard right there, that is the cruise control kicking on. If you double click the power button, you can see we can change it to eco mode, race mode, and sport. I would expect race to be the fastest, sport to be in the middle. These are reversed. It's eco, race, sport is fastest. I don't think it changes the power really at all. It just changes the top speed as far as I can tell. So I'm gonna put it straight into sport mode. We got some hills around town. It's only 800 watts. I think we can handle that just fine. Whoa. Okay, so there's something. If you give it throttle, it's like wanted to wheelie on me. So it's a torquey little thing. Guess I underestimated the 800 watts right off the bat. So first off, we have this little hill going out of the parking lot. Speed bump. These are pretty small wheels. I think they're 10 inches. That's why they call it the S10. But first, let's see if it'll make it up this hill, because this one's reasonably steep. Most things make it up this, and yeah, this made it up just fine. This thing doesn't have a horn or anything, but it does have a little bell. Let's see if we can make it up one of the steepest hills in downtown Grass Valley. And then I'll go ahead and share the official dyno results with you as well. And you start from a stop sign, so there is no getting up to speed first and cruising up over this. So we're at 13 miles an hour, 12, 11. I mean, it's slowing down, 10, 9, 8, still going though. It's gonna make it. I don't think it's incredibly happy with it, but it's gonna make it.
Now, for some reason, I lost my audio right here. So this is just me doing a very, very bad lip sync to my own self, and I don't remember exactly what I said, so it must not have been that important. But let's go ahead and spin the scooter up. Okay, that wasn't very good. And I go ahead and pull the scooter off. And let's see what the official dyno numbers turned out to be. They were pretty good, actually. We got 1,008 watts and over 25 pound-feet of torque. Now, comparing it to some other stuff on the board, the Awesome Leopard was a single motor, so was the Richter S9. Fits right in between those two.
So if I'm remembering the dyno numbers right, I think it was about 25 pound-feet of torque. That's why I was a little on the edge if it was gonna make it. If it was closer to 30, I would say, yeah, definitely gonna do it. So I thought that was pretty good, actually. So I'm starting to get goosebumps now. I learned my lesson in the last video. Scooters are not things to be ridden with one hand. So I'm gonna stop and pull my sleeves down. Okay. This thing does wheelie. I think part of that is because it's so short. I'll get back to the deck size in a moment. But I think, like, say I had a teenager that lived close to school or a friend's house or something, and I wanted to get them a scooter that had plenty of power to get around town, go up and down the hills, but not be a scary death trap of a machine, because let's face it, some of these scooters are going crazy speeds. I think this could be a good one. It's quick enough, it's enough power, and it's at a reasonable price. Or if you are an adult and you just don't feel comfortable, or you have the need to go that fast, then it would work for you too. It's all about affordable transportation. So here's a little neighborhood, speed limit is 25. They advertise 28 mile an hour top speed, and look at that. I'm doing 28. I'm having to actually brake a little bit for the traffic. So far, this scooter has outperformed the advertising claims. It's got a little more power at peak power. The top speed, it easily achieved. Those are great. The suspension feels okay for the street. I don't think it's worth doing an off-road test on this. I think I can just tell that it's not gonna perform that well. The tires are pretty narrow. They're clearly just not targeting the off-road market, at least with this model. They may have other ones with dual motors and chunkier tires that are better, but I don't think this one is it. That's an interesting license plate. What is that supposed to mean? So the deck size is small. That's one of those things where I was saying this could be good for kids, and this truck is so noisy. Grody. That thing was leaking something, I don't even want to know what. He didn't see me. So the deck size is, well, I guess we can do this little off-road spot. Yeah, like I said, definitely not made for it. This is a street scooter. I'll go across this little bridge for fun. So the deck size is kind of small, both in length and width. I'm gonna stop here and try and show you guys. So here's my shoe on the deck. You can see that it would be impossible to put 2 feet side by side. I have my foot like this, and I feel like I'm on it, but it doesn't give me a lot of wiggle room. And then my rear foot, I'm putting like back here. I mean, to put both of my feet flat on the deck, it's pretty tight. And I wear a 9.5 shoe size. If you're wearing like a 11 or 12 size shoe, you're gonna feel real cramped on this. Kids, not gonna be a problem. But I just think that's something to be aware of. The deck size is a little narrow, a little short. This is a very compact scooter compared to some of the others. I mean, it's totally rideable for me. So I know this thing's 60 some pounds, and that sounds heavy, but it really doesn't feel heavy at all. It feels really light and maneuverable. Riding it, I mean, it feels like a scooter half its weight to me. And as of yet, I have not felt unstable at any point, but I also haven't really gotten it more than, more than say 30 miles an hour. That cruise control is a little obnoxious. I almost want to like vary my speed every once in a while just so it doesn't kick on. I can try and hunker down and give it full power and see how fast it'll really go, but it does feel like 28 miles an hour, the RPM's just kind of max out. It doesn't really want to go any faster. That's kind of all it's got. All right, let's test out the handling a little bit around these steep turns. I can just leave it in sport mode, which is our fastest power mode, and just ease the power on around these turns just fine. It's not too jumpy. If you hammer the throttle, it will lurch a bit and, like I said, try and wheelie on you if you're not careful. But you can use that thumb throttle to just ease the power on. I suppose I could coast down this hill right here for the sake of a top speed run. Although it maxes out at 28, we could try and make it go faster by coasting. All right, so we're at 28, cruise control's off. And it just isn't really wanting to go any faster. I'm coasting. Come on, at least get up to 30. You know what? I don't think the speedometer reads faster than 28. It felt like I sped up a few miles an hour right there, and it just sat there pegged at 28. I think this is one of those weird ones where it goes up to 28 and just stops. No, I don't want the cruise control on right now. So what I gotta do is bump the throttle, or bump the brakes, get the cruise control off, then hit the throttle again so I can try and speed up. Come on. Oh, fine, you win. I can just like sit down here and not even use the throttle and just let it carry me up the hill. Well, since I'm down here, you can see that the bars don't have an adjustment up or down. It seems like that's a 50-50 whether or not a scooter has that or not. Thankfully, it's using just pretty standard bicycle handlebars though. So if you wanted to lift these bars up a little bit, you could just put on some different bars. Be real easy to swap these out. Like I said, this is kind of a small scooter, deck size-wise, length-wise. So if you're putting a kid on this or a teenager, it's probably just fine. If you're a 6'2" guy, you're probably not, you're gonna want something bigger. I've been using the brakes a little bit. When you are going fast, 28, as fast as it goes, as far as I can tell, and you go to brake, you know, they're mechanical, so it takes a firm squeeze to stop, but nothing out of the ordinary. The brakes are working just fine. And if I use the drum brake or the disc brake, here, let me hit one of the brakes. All right, there's one. Let me hit the other one. It's basically the same. There's little to no difference in braking performance from what I can feel between the drum brake or the disc brake. So if you have any concerns about the fact that it only has a disc brake in the rear and the front's a drum brake, don't. I will say that it's not as good as hydraulic brakes, but you have to factor in the price of the scooter. Most that have hydraulic brakes, you're gonna spend a little bit more money. Now, if I had to make a guesstimate on range, with this being a 48 volt, 12.5 amp hour, obviously it's gonna depend on the terrain and the hills, but you know, if it's flat, 25 miles maybe, that'd be my rough guess. If you're in a lot of hills like I am, you know, you could kill it in under 20, I bet. It handles very nice, it's been very stable. The only thing I wish I could change a little bit now that I've ridden it for a little while, for me personally, is the deck being a little bit small, a little bit cramped. I wish I had a little more room to move my feet around. The drum brake, don't let that scare you. It worked perfectly fine. Like most scooters, it's got a little folding latch right here. There we go. This folds down. It's got a little latch right here. And then from there you can pick the whole thing up. And it doesn't feel too bad to heft up. If you're gonna have it in the folded position, just be aware that you got a little bit of width there. Those bars are standard bicycle bars. They don't fold down any more than that. I don't think I did mention that these are pneumatic air-filled tires. That's what I'm seeing on most scooters and kind of what I prefer. The deck is completely covered in rubber here and felt plenty grippy. It would be nice if there was a little more of a platform back here, especially because the deck is so small. I honestly would say that I was expecting a lesser quality scooter from the photos and things that I saw, so it's better than I expected it to be. So that's a good thing, even if ultimately the deck size and certain things are a little small for me personally. That doesn't mean it's a bad scooter for someone else. I think my kids, who are a little bit younger and obviously smaller, would absolutely love this thing and have a ton of fun on it. To me, this is a great entry-level scooter. So once again, this came from Isinwheel, and this is the S10 Pro model. They did send it to me to make this video, but I say whatever I want in these videos. I think it's a decent setup, the quality is good, and I will put a link in the description to where you can buy one of these. I've been getting more and more scooters to review lately, so if you want to see some of the other ones I've checked out, there's a bunch of those right here.